Welcome back. Tangy Talk episode numero siete, number
Incredible.
7 here.
Incredible.
We're sticking with it, right? I think we said the top 5% of podcasts have to get to 21 episodes. So we're marching along, Victor. Welcome to episode 7.
We're getting there. Welcome, welcome, Steve. Happy Friday. Happy Women's Day.
That's right. Happy
Right?
Women's Day. But I think it's Women's Day every day in our household.
100%. 100%. I agree with that. But shout out to all the ladies. I know I've worked with many great leaders. So, I think a lot of what we've been able to accomplish has been a lot, in part by having really strong and beautiful women alongside.
I agree. My wife, I'm very proud of her every day, giving a great example for my daughter, being able to raise a strong woman. I'm excited to see her as she continues to blossom.
There you go. Shout out to all of our wives as well, and Alexandra, my wife as well, with doing a fantastic job with our 11-month-old baby. So praises to her as well.
All right. I think we're good now. I think they're going to be happy.
Yeah.
We got us a week.
We got so we.
But listen, we've had a lot of fun this week, a lot of cool things happening. And I put a post on this on LinkedIn. I told you, Victor, I write to myself sometimes, like to motivate myself.
Right.
And I was like, when you're in the hotels and when you're working in a big company, you get people cheerleading for you, like, oh, great job, Victor. Great job, Steve. And, when you become a business owner, you don't really get that. You got to find it for yourself, right? And you got to find those little moments to cheerlead. And as silly as it may sound, I want to cheerlead a moment for us, because for our journey here at Tangy, we're in year 5.5. We've been slowly growing the right way as competitors closed down after raising millions of dollars, but we invested in our first van. Look at that thing, viewers.
Look
Not
at
the
that.
best picture, but we got it yesterday,
Yeah,
and we're just excited because it is our mobile marketing now. Not only is it for our team to get around and do a great job at servicing places, now we got a beautiful Tangy van. I think our shirts actually match the van today.
I think so too. I think we're on brand today. But yeah, man, it's a really proud moment. I was like thinking about it. I'm like, man, when we first had the Tangy logo on a piece of paper, now it's on a car. So it's a really proud moment. We'll get some better pictures in that. But
Yep.
our team did a great job in designing it. Shout out William for seeing it through and putting it together. And hopefully you get to see us out on the street. Don't
Yeah.
honk at us. Don't honk at us or
Or do honk at us, but just don't distract our drivers. But if you do see, I think we should run a competition. Like, hey, where do you see the Tangy van? And we'll run a little competition to see if you spot it and send us the picture. We'll give you a discount to stay with Tangy.com.
Yeah, we'll do something nice. It'll be cool. Spot out the Tangy Mobile and get a discount.
The Tangy Mobile. I like it. See, you have to win these little times. We got to celebrate when we have these wins.
I love it, man. Yeah, I saw that post and I was like, wow, Steve hit it right on the spot, right? Because it's like, I think we've had this conversation. It gets a little lonely sometimes, right? I mean, and thankfully we have each other that we get to share, a lot of details, personally and also business wise. But it's good to sing your own praises, because sometimes we definitely don't see them. We're always so focused on our team and making sure they feel praised and they feel special and what they're doing. But for us as well, we're doing a good job.
Yeah, we got to cheerlead for ourselves, because it gets hard for business owners when you're on your own, right? Could you imagine some of these guys who are starting up their vacation rental business and it's just them and dealing with guests? Because usually you only talk to guests when they're angry or upset, right? Is 90% of it. So
Yeah, man.
It could wear you down a little bit.
100%. And our background, that we come from hotels with 600, 700 employees, where you're walking in every day saying hello to 500 people just to get to your office. It's not like that for us anymore,
Yep.
So I love it. I love that post, and I'm glad we're talking about it too.
Me too. And we might have talked about it, but for those who haven't heard it, we did something for our team to kind of learn about them. Do you want to talk about what we created to learn about our team?
Get to know me sheet. Yeah, that's it was a special. It was not only cool idea, but also seeing the team itself, putting it together, was also cool to see. But we basically created a get to know me sheet with all of our teams, like hobbies, favorite restaurants, what motivates them, their goal for the year. We had them sign it off and fill all of the information. It was cool to see them kind of like, oh, what motivates you? Or my family? Or what's your favorite movie? So it was cool to see, and we'll be using that, to hopefully motivate them, to give awards, to give employee of the month, and having that information, I think, will go a long way for us, as business owners, and for them as well, to make sure that they know that they feel that they're heard and they're special, and what they do doesn't go unnoticed.
I agree. And I love that we have it. And again, you could celebrate with them that way. So if you have a team that's spread out, especially virtual teams, this is a good way to get to know people and celebrate their birthdays and big occasions and see what really motivates them and kind of reward them. So if they love going to the beach, like we had one of our supervisors, we found out loves going to the beach. We got her some awesome Tommy Bahama chairs and an umbrella so that she can go and enjoy that, right? Little things that don't cost a lot that you can do for everybody.
She loved it, yeah, and her expression was priceless. Like right away, she was like, "I can't believe you remembered." It's like, "Of course we remember."
Yeah, you see, little things, which I love. Well, we could talk about this stuff all day. We have some headlines we want to cover because something's affecting us here in Florida and some other big cities. And we'll give us a couple of tips on what you can implement today in your business. But the first one is a new law that just passed here in Florida. Is the Florida's SB 2080. The bill is going to be tough because it just passed narrowly here in Florida. And now they're going to be able to say that local governments can implement laws on vacation rentals and short-term rentals as they see fit. So even harder than any other lodging laws, this is going to be even tougher. So, we'll see what happens here with it. But what did you see? You've been following it along a little bit more than I have.
Right. Yeah, and it's a big bill, and there's a lot of details and information on there that everyone, I think, should go and read, because it could partially affect them in some other ways. But I've been thinking about it all morning. I mean, we talk about this all the time, that being black and white on regulations and how do we process things like permits and stuff like that should be very clear, so that I'm all in accordance to. But the property rights, from owners, and removing those property rights from owners. We'll get into this topic in a little bit of New York and the impact it did over there. But I think the property rights of owners, and having them, or allowing them to be able to conduct their business in a smart and professional way, won't hurt them necessarily. But having clear regulations, I'm all for it. And then there's also other things. There's also other topics of what the cap on how much you can charge for registration, or basically any fees and fines, also cap that as well. But then there's verbiage in there about like possible liens and stuff like that, and that's where it gets a little dicey.
Yeah, because it's not very clear. And so this is something that we, being on the board of the Florida Alliance of Vacation Rentals, we got to see a little bit more than we've ever seen, right? Just being a part of this association. And so we're really pushing, like, if you are in this industry, you need to join an association in your local community. So if you're in Florida, you should be a part of it. It's $75 for your business to join. It's not anything crazy. And you can see when all these laws are starting to come through, and you can help make a difference as they're going. So do your best to make sure you join this.
Yep, 100%. I completely agree with you. And I was telling you the other day on Wednesday, when the house was speaking on it, I had your morning podcast at 10 a.m. with Sarah, and on the other side I had the Senate floor and listening to them. So that's the first time I've looked into it and looked and seen that live. So it was cool. Even myself, not really thinking that I would be interested in that. Now I'm finding myself kind of knee deep in all of that. So it's cool to see, and hopefully, I think it's gonna has to be passed by the Senate. So.
No, I think it's through. I think they went through.
Okay.
Yeah, it went through. Though we saw it go through the House, and it's now through the Senate. But just shows you that, like, things can change very quickly without us really knowing. And so this is why it's important to join these things, and join these associations, because hey, we wouldn't see it. It'd be a headline, and then all of a sudden it could be like how Miami Beach was, where it was booming, and then all of a sudden it got shut down because there were a lot of bad actors. And so this is where it comes from, is from the bad actors, right? It's not like the people like our company that try to do things the right way, be a good neighbor, enhance neighborhoods that we're in, do things legally. It's the people who create these party houses that get out of control, garbage is all over the neighborhood, cars coming in and out at all hours of the night.
Yeah.
These are the people that really give us a bad name. And
Right.
I agree. We should not have those kind of homes, right? If you're not in the right zoning to have that kind of business, you should not be. So
Agreed.
this is where it came from, and they want to get it even stricter, because I was reading what some of the state senators were saying, that they really want to get even tighter, where you can really like knock out these homes and make it, back to the neighborhoods that it should be. But if you're doing it the right way, you know, you have people who travel and really want to experience something like a local, like Airbnb's tagline, right? Or just really have that home and space for their kids to run around and save a little money on vacation. And also for the owners to make a little extra money when they're not in town. So
Exactly.
it goes a bunch of different ways.
Right. But and all, I think in totality of it is, stay ahead, stay informed. Read through the bill carefully and see how it can affect you, and then just prepare for it and be ready for any change. I think change is good, so we'll see where it heads.
I'm excited to see what the final rules are. So like you said, we know what we have to do, because once we know what to do, we could do it, because so many things are gray area. But look, it could happen very quickly in any major city. And that's, I think, our next topic here is what happened in New York City, of all places, where, man, they wiped out thousands and thousands of Airbnb listings.
Right.
People who had built whole businesses and careers in doing things this way. It was already kind of illegal, but the city couldn't enforce the laws.
Right.
They changed the laws, made it enforceable, and really wiped it out. So the only way you can do a short-term rental in New York City is if you actually live there. So you and I can't rent an entire place from somebody. It has to be someone who's a host that lives there and rents it out. But the majority of them are not that. And if you want to have your short-term rental accommodations, you almost need, like, I think it's the hotel license there. So not many people have that at all. So it can happen in any city. It could happen. If it happens in New York City, it could happen in any major city or any small town. So that's why you got to be involved. But there was something who was a big winner. Which city was a big winner, Victor?
New Jersey. It's New Jersey is reaping all the benefits. There's been a huge increase in their demand. It says about 77% year over year as of mid-February. So that means there's still a strong demand and a strong need for short-term rentals. But people are going elsewhere, and they're looking at places like Weehawken and Hoboken, places that have real easy access over to Manhattan. So they're reaping all the benefits. And one thing also that we'd have mentioned there also, Steve, is that you can do short-term rental, but basically it's if you don't live in the property, but basically it has to be a 30-day minimum. So, that's not necessarily somebody staying there for 30 days is as common as people think.
No, and that's like a little interesting niche, because there's not that many people who do it.
Right.
We have a couple of people in our properties that do it every once in a while, but it's usually the weekenders, week stay, definitely under 30 days.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, we come from hotel worlds, and the hotels have benefited, but not as much as everybody thought. Right.
Right.
And so what it shows is that, all right, you could take away the short-term rentals, and hotels thought they would be sold out across the city and get a lot more revenue. But they had a nice little jump, but it just showed that people are not looking for hotels, right? Those type of travelers are looking for that apartment style, home style place that maybe has a little bit of savings or a lot. Because I tried to go, I remember during the holidays to go see,
right,
and this was already implemented. I could not find a hotel that was under $700 a night.
Incredible.
Like Courtyard, Marriott's, Hampton Inns, all these places were a sky high, right, at that time. So
I agree. Yeah,
I
man.
think that people want to travel that way. They're going to travel that way, and they're going to figure it out. And now New Jersey is going to hopefully see all these cool things happening in their city.
Yeah, and it goes to show you that like you said, kind of touching on what you said, like people are looking for that experience. And I think Airbnb or short-term rental in general created its own level or type of guest. I take it back to kind of like the taxis and Ubers. There's a similarity. Not everybody or necessarily felt comfortable going into a taxi or using a taxi. Then Uber came up, and it made it much more available and easier to be able to stay. And it created its own market and its own customers. So I think there's a similarity here, and I think time will tell, right, on the hotels, the housing, affordable housing situation there as well. And then also New Jersey that's benefiting everything.
Well, something we're starting to see a little bit here in Miami, not that they're making it illegal, but kind of the change in things. And I think a good way to hedge it is kind of what we've done. And maybe it's an idea for other people in this industry is we're starting to manage long-term
Right.
properties too, right? So we saw the shift a little bit and there's a need for top tier hospitality people to manage long-term property stays over a year, right? So we started to have our first properties doing that. So we're excited to see where that goes. Do you think that's something that others should look at too if they're in certain cities where it's getting a little dicey?
100%. 100%. I think if I think like our model right now, what we're doing is where instead of hey, losing that client to a long term, we'll say hey, we'll keep you. We'll continue managing your property. Nobody knows your property better than we do. If you need anything or the tenants need anything, we can be the person for them to contact. And then, during the slower time, if they want to do long term, they could switch to long term. And then during our high season, since we already have, everything set in place, we could just click that button and then set it live on short term rental. And we could do kind of like a conjoined, long term versus short term model. I don't think
Yep.
that's very popular. I don't think that, maybe, we're onto something doing that. But I think it's a little tip and advice and something that we're doing.
Yeah, I think I like our hybrid model. I think
Right?
it's good because it gives
Hybrid.
options.
That's the
Do
word.
a hybrid option. We've got the licensing with the realtors. Like we have things lined up the right way. It's a different type of license now out there, people. So make sure you talk to your attorneys, and every state's a little bit different. Make sure you do things the right way. Um, but I like this model for us, and I'm excited to see where it goes because, like you said, it's like a light switch. We can turn it on one way, we can turn it off the other way, and it gives owners that we work with and partners we work with a lot of different options.
There you go. Yeah, I like that. I like that, and basically a hybrid. There's got to be a term for that, right? We got to make something up there.
I like it. I think the hybrid rental management,
Hybrid.
short term and long term. We got to update our website. I was looking at it. All right. So if you're going to our website to look, we're updating it as we go. We're working on our marketing taglines, and we're excited to see all the new things that we're working on. But again, I think this shows very uniquely going back to New York. People want to stay in these type of rentals. If the hotel people are going to stay in hotels and they're going to go find a place to stay and still go enjoy one of the best cities in the world. I still love visiting New York, but I wish we had some more of the Airbnbs there.
Same here. Yeah, it's kind of going through a personal experience. I stayed in Brooklyn a couple of years back in an Airbnb, and that was an experience I would probably never get. If I were to be at a hotel, I had a bodega right in front of us that I was going to in the mornings, crossing the street, having my little coffee, and I got that real,
Yeah.
Brooklyn experience. And it's still one of my favorite trips so far. So, hopefully they can work it out.
Yeah. You wanted to be like a local, man.
Exactly.
Right. Well, look, talking about Airbnb, we talked a little bit about it last week, but they're continuing to evolve and they're starting to announce some new things. And I think it's not stock advice by any chance, but I think we both have invested in Airbnb and it's slowly climbing little by little.
Little by little.
So I'm happy to see that, but they're making some new changes to get people in, and they're highlighting a couple of things that they've got. They're going to be really focusing on co-hosting.
Right.
So you and I have talked about that prior to seeing this article, where they're going to make a big push on co-hosting because people realize it's hard to be a host. It's really hard. It's not something that is easy to do, especially if you want to do it full time. So we're going to look into that and how we can, get into their expanding co-hosting program and help people and really coach them up. So if you want to learn about how to be one, you can always ask us or always watch our Tangy Talks and subscribe. They're going to be leveraging AI for support. So I got to talk about this a little bit afterwards. Yeah, I got to talk about what I saw recently.
Yes.
And then they're revamping the experiences feature, right? So they really want people connecting, and they're going to refocus on the experiences that they kind of haven't focused on too much recently. And then the last, they haven't talked about it, but people are saying that they might start having sponsored posts, like sponsored homes, but they said that's not in the near future. So a lot of things going on there. What interests you the most of what they're working on?
Yeah, I think two things. The AI, as we talked about it, and we saw, we use AI, and we're not ashamed to say we use AI for a lot of things. It's a great tool. So really interested, and I can't wait for you to talk to the viewers about your experience. And then the other part was the sponsored listings, right? As they're afraid that these bigger companies are going to be using this feature, and then it's going to start shying away the single family or the host with one property. So that was a pretty eye opening. I could see that going very different ways, but those are the ones that stood out for me. How about you?
Yeah, I like seeing. We talked about the co-hosting. I think a lot of people got themselves in deep water thinking that they
Oh yeah,
could do this easily and didn't know what they were doing, and then they got kicked off because if you don't get good reviews, especially on certain platforms, they give you a warning and then toss you, right?
oh
And
yeah,
so when we were first starting out, we had to tell owners because they wanted to cut corners and not do things the right way, and then their properties would get tossed, right?
yep,
And I think a lot of people are experiencing that. So we'd be happy to co-host, but the AI stuff, man, like we have a great team and we're not going to be replacing our team. I want to give them more tools to be efficient. But one of the tools I saw and being playing with is a chatbot that, you think about chatbots as not being very good. I thought I was talking to a real person the whole time. And I was giving it scenarios that were ultra difficult to answer. Like an example, I gave it pretended that our pool was losing water and I was really upset and that I wanted a refund and needed things to be done right now or I was leaving. And it responded just as we would train somebody, right?
right,
Acknowledged that, hey, so sorry about the pool. It then contacted the vendor, our pool vendor, to say, hey, there's an issue with the pool, to let them know. It responded to that vendor to say, come to this address right away. It then responded to the guest saying that we're so sorry. I'm going to look into talking about a refund for a portion of your stay because it was trained on that as one of the standards that was
right.
given. And it took care of everything just as it was. And then as a
Incredible.
guest, I was like, wow, all right. Responded within seconds instead of minutes, right? Because that's one of our KPIs, our key performance indicators is how quickly can we respond to everybody.
Right.
And so it did it within 30 seconds versus the 3 minutes that we really push for,
That's
right?
incredible. Yeah,
So,
the part that impressed me the most about that, and that's like one of the first questions I asked you, is about kind of closing the loop.
mhm,
That guest complaint comes in. What's happening next? I always thought there needs to be a human component on that part, who's going to be coordinating the vendors, etc. So that part where you told me, hey, immediately a message was pushed out to the vendor, and there's communication onto where he needed to go. Completely impressed.
yeah.
That was amazing. So, like you said, if it brings more tools and more ability to our team and customer service and creates a better experience and service for the guests, we're all for it.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people out there, it's how you're going to make your team more efficient, right? Because
Right.
across all of hospitality, there's a million jobs open that have not been filled. 1
Right.
million. So again, I'm a big believer in having that human touch, but making them more efficient and making their lives better and easier. So, look, I'm excited to see where all this goes. It's a little crazy to see how fast it's happening, right?
It's
Because just a
incredible.
year ago, it was, not that great. And only 12 months later, things are really ramping up,
It's incredible.
especially in hospitality, which is usually like the slowest to take on technology. I'm excited seeing how all of this
Yeah.
is going to start playing out.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like 2024 could be a big change in the short term rental and ways that we operate and ways that we function and we even think about hosting. So it's really cool to see. I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, I think for us too, it's like, how do you personalize even more? Because we get so many reservations coming through, and it's different than a hotel. Like we're used to it. Like Victor and I, we were talking about it. We did VIP services, and we would, all right, who's checking in today? We have 200 check-ins. 30 of them are VIPs. Here's their dislikes and dislikes. But when you're spread out amongst many homes, is how do you personalize those things? And I think this is some of those tools that are going to come through. Is like, hey, Mr. Jones arriving at Bayshore Home really loves this type of wine, and we can start to like dial in much easier
Yeah,
through all the
that's
messaging.
amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, we had no, you're touching on it, and we're revamping our VIP processes as we speak right now, and we take it back to hotels. Like you said, we were in the morning lineups, and I had the privilege of being able to work in the VIP department, the attaché department at the Raw Golf Resort. So I saw it firsthand, and we were calling the guests beforehand, the VIP guests, and asking them what are their likes and dislikes, and what their daughter drinks and what their son likes to eat. And we were checking all of those things off and giving them their own, profile and that way it saves. And then future guests, when they come back, we know all of this information. So I would love for that to happen, in short-term rental, and we can give that, that white glove service to the guest, and it's something that I think will go a long way for the guests as well.
Yeah, and for us, it's about standardizing stuff because we were realizing, a simple thing is wine, right? Like we like to give wine for anyone celebrating things, but we would leave it up to the team, and they were choosing things that are not the best because they're not specialized in wine. So we standardize what wine we have and what fruit you're going to serve and what the card looks like. So we've done all those things. Now we have our own branded sticker that we put on certain stuff, so they know that we were there, and checking the toilet paper and all these fun things. So there's a lot that you can do out there. We could talk. Maybe we do a whole show on just like the little touches. I think that could be something fun that we talk about.
Yeah, that'll be super cool. Yeah, one of the things, obviously you can, from what guests are saying in the communication, usually guests will share that they're, having an anniversary. That's, very easy and common practice. But the other, going above and beyond is actually researching the guest. Because a lot of guests sometimes, they don't necessarily add that information or provide that information. But I remember we used to go guest by guest. We would see what they would do. We would see, if they're a CEO, a celebrity, or whatnot, and then we would register them as a VIP and do little touches and things like that. So that'll be above and beyond, a little step forward for that.
I always like following the comments at hotels, and we're getting sidetracked here. We have our button, our tangent alert button, but my favorite was people who would sneak in things to see if we were reading. Like, hey, I want to autograph Burt Reynolds' photo on top of his car, framed by my bedside, and it happened at Mandarin Oriental a couple times, like weird, like celebrities framed. And so we would go in, print out the picture. I would sign it. We would put it, and then
that is incredible.
It would be by the bedside, and they would call down and laugh and say, "Hey, I never thought anybody actually looked at these things. So thank you so much for paying attention and enjoying it."
Amazing. Wow, we never got those requests, but yeah, that's a pretty cool one. But I'm glad you guys went through that and above and beyond for that. But yeah, we would get pets all the time, children's, types of juices, specific juices and things like of that nature. But yeah, okay,
there's so many fun things like that, man. Like I remember, we're gonna start like name dropping celebrities, but we had Gary Vaynerchuk staying at the Lowe's. So it's one of thousands, but I was very much listening to him at the time, and I knew he was into basketball cards. So we went out and bought basketball cards. We found like some of his favorite snacks. We had all these things, and we put it in the room. And he called down. He's like, "Oh man, this is awesome! Thank you so much." So that was a lot of fun. Those are the cool things about hospitality.
100%. I bet if you ask him, he'll remember that.
I think so. I mean, look, do I have his number in my phone? I cannot confirm or deny that, but it was fun. Those are the fun things that you could do in hotels that I think now we're really focusing in our operation.
Yeah.
And I think the really good short-term rental operators are doing that too, because they have like a good dialed in team. But I think for anyone that has like 1, 2, 3 units, start looking at what you can really do to elevate it that way. I think you'll see it not only repay with consistent stays, but great reviews, and people really appreciate you just thinking about them.
100%. Yeah. And to sum it up, I think it's, it's all about the guest at the end of the day. It's all about the guest. So I think they'll be really happy to see that, people like us and companies like us are having this conversation and really thinking about their stay and their experience. So those are the type of experiences and things we want to incorporate into what we're doing, and hopefully others that are hearing, could do so as well.
Yeah, something my other co-host Sarah Dandishi said was not about perfection; it's about connection.
I love it.
So you don't have to be perfect, but if you can make a connection with that guest and make them feel special, they really appreciate it. So shout out to Sarah and to anybody out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't overthink it. Just do it from the heart. Take care of those guests. And I think they will really appreciate staying with you. Look at us preaching here. Look at us preaching here, Victor. And that goes for any business, right? That goes for any business. You and I see it all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So look, we've gotten here. I can't believe 30 minutes has flown by. But listen, we love going to do this with you guys every single week. We appreciate you listening. We're seeing the downloads climbing up the charts. So that means a lot that you're sharing this and listening. And if you think there's somebody that might enjoy watching it, share it with them too. We promise we'll continue to deliver content that people enjoy. Right, Victor? Can we promise them that?
We could definitely promise that. And I love seeing the interaction, and hopefully some more questions start coming in and we can bring those topics in. And thank you to everyone who takes their time to listen in.
That's right. And if you see the Tangy Mobile out there, make sure to take a picture, send it over to us at Tangy on Instagram. We would love to see it.
There you go. I love it.
All right, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.